this shit by myself. I said, bitch, it's so as fuck. Everybody else, you was never there. I said, bitch, I'd rather step by myself. I said, bitch, it's for 12. I said, bitch, they just tryna put a date on me. I said, bitch, I'm too legit. I said, bitch, I can never tell. I said, bitch, my big bro told me right. I said, bitch, don't give a fuck what they saying. I said, bitch, I'm tryna get it. I said, bitch, they just hating. That's why I be out the way. I don't be worrying about shit. I said, bitch, you come my lane, you get hit with a 772. I said, bitch, what you wanna do? I said, I bet they think I'm pussy, but I ain't never been pussy. I said, bitch, I don't do that little ass shit, boy, shit. I said, bitch, I'm on some grown shit. I don't be over little ass shit. I said, bitch, you gon' have to pull up on me. I said, bitch, when you cross that line, you can hit with 556 and 772s. Don't give a fuck. You can hit with them bitches. I don't give a fuck. Them bitches hot. I said, bitch, I ain't finna be over no little money. I said, bitch, it's hot in hell. I said, bitch, you can catch a shell. I said, bitch, I ain't never claimed I was the hardest. I said, baby, when you try to take my life, you playing with thin ice. I said, baby, I don't promote violence. I said, bitch, I don't fuck with nobody.